I want to put everything in context because you, like me, believe these are such really terrible, terrible times thanks to the efforts of the left and this government. And so it's important to reestablish who we are and what we're up against. Oh, don't worry, I'm going to get into Charlie Rangel, and he's has ethics violations filed against him, and there's a lot of other stuff. But we're going to remain focused. We will get to these things, but we are going to remain focused and resolute because the times are too crucial to be anything else. Now, who are we as a people? Who are we conservatives, the majority philosophy in this nation? What do we believe? What does the other side believe? We believe that prudence must be exercised when assessing change. What is prudence? Prudence is the highest virtue because it's judgment drawn on wisdom. Is that happening today? The proposed change should be informed by the experience, knowledge, and traditions of society, tailored for a specific purpose and accomplished through a constitutional construct that ensures thoughtful deliberation by the community. Is that what's going on today? Change unconstrained by prudence produces unpredictable consequences, threatening ordered liberty with chaos and ultimately despotism, and placing at risk the very principles we conservatives hold dear. The conservative understands that Americans are living in a state of diminishing liberty, that statism is on the ascendancy, and the societal balance is tipping away from ordered liberty. In these circumstances, the conservative should not confuse prudence with timidity. If anything, certainly since the New Deal, we conservatives have too often lacked the confidence and persistence to defend the civil society. Even the most dedicated conservative acknowledges we have a dawning challenge ahead. Because the founders were right when they observed that man has a high tolerance for suffering. We must accept a fact that the statist does not share our passion for liberty and all the good that flows from it. The statist does not acknowledge the tremendous benefits to society from the individual pursuits of tens of millions of others. He rejects the founders' idea of the dignity of the individual, who can flourish through ordered liberty, for one rooted in unpredictability, irrationality, and ultimately tyranny. Now, who is this statist? Well, the statist is dissatisfied with the condition of his own existence. You can think about Obama in this context, or Shirley Sherrod and so forth. He condemns his fellow man, surroundings, society itself, for denying him the fulfillment, success, and adulation he believes he deserves. He's angry, resentful, petulant, and jealous. He's incapable of honest self-assessment and rejects the honest assessment by others of himself, evading responsibilities for his own miserable condition. Excuse me. Now, the statist searches for significance and even glory in a utopian fiction of his mind's making, the earthly attainment of which he believes is frustrated by those who do not share it. So he must destroy the civil society piece by piece. I wrote this 2 years ago. This was published a year and a half ago. This is Liberty and Tyranny. You hear people speak like this on our side today because they see it now. You see it. For the statists, liberty is not a blessing but the enemy. It's not possible to achieve utopia if individuals are free to go their own way. The individual must be dehumanized and his nature delegitimized through persuasion, deception, and coercion. The individual must be subordinated to the state. You think of all that Obama has done. This was written well before he became president, because statism is what statism is. The individual must abandon his own ambitions for the ambitions of the state. He must become reliant on and fearful of the state. His first duty must be to the state and not family, community, and faith, all of which have the potential of threatening the state. And once dispirited, then the individual can be molded by the state. The statist utopia can take many forms and has throughout human history, including anarchism, feudalism, militarism, fascism, communism, national socialism, and economic socialism. They're all of the same species. Tyranny. Tyranny. The primary principle around which the statist organizes can be summed up in a single word. Equality. You hear it all the time. Equality, as understood by the founders, is the natural right of every individual to live freely under self-government, to acquire and retain the property he creates through his own labor, and to be treated impartially before a just law. But equality should not be confused with perfection, for man is also imperfect, making his application of equality, even in the most just society, like ours, imperfect. Otherwise, inequality is the natural state of man, in the sense that each individual is born unique in all his human characteristics. So equality and inequality, properly comprehended, are both engines of liberty. But the statist misuses equality to pursue uniform economic and social outcomes. He must continuously enhance his power at the expense of self-government and violate the individual's private property rights at the expense of individual liberty. For the statist believes that through persuasion, deception, and coercion, he can tame man's natural state, and man's perfection can therefore be achieved in this utopia. The statist must claim the power to make that which is unequal, equal, and that which is imperfect, perfect. You hear Obama do it every time they sign a massive piece of legislation. This is the hope the statist offers, if only the individual surrenders himself to the all-powerful state. Only then can the impossible be made possible. So surrender yourselves, your bodies, your minds, your liberty, your property. President Barack Obama made this point when lecturing the Wesleyan University graduating class of 2008 during his campaign. He said, "Our individual salvation depends on collective salvation." But salvation is not government's to give. Indeed, it's not a grant to mankind from mankind. Under the wrong conditions and in the wrong hands, this deviant view is a powerful tool against humanity. The difficulty, if not impossibility, is in containing the soft tyranny, so it does not metastasize into a more absolute tyranny, since the diminished and then vanquished civil society is the sole antidote.